Hey guys, Jonathan here at Night Knowledge. I'm here with my friend Mike, who received Tainted Grail on Kickstarter. Mike, can you tell me a bit about this game?
Yes, this is a Kickstarter from Awaken Realms, 1 to 4 player co-op game in which it is set in a kind of dark, twisted Arthurian legend kind of setting.
Thank you. So today's video is going to be a quick setup and rules video. Don't forget on my blog nightknowledge.com that there will be a script available for you to use that you can read to teach your friends. And there will be a second part to this video which will cover specifically combat and diplomacy. Let's get started. We'll start off by discussing the setup of the character boards, map, and then the individual cards before talking about the rules. To start off the setup, have the players pick a character. On the back of the character card, it tells you how to assign combat and diplomacy attribute stat points, which are on the left and right of the board respectively, and what resources to assign, which are at the bottom of the board. Have each character place a cube at the indicated areas for energy and terror and set their health to full. Each character will have a deck of combat and diplomacy cards. Separate them. The letter in the bottom right indicates what character they belong to if for whatever reason they're mixed up. For each deck, there will be cards with either a banner on it, their name, or neither. There are 15 cards with the banner. These form your starting deck. Combine the other two types of cards. These will form your advancement deck. Put them aside. You will use the experience to add these cards to your deck to become more powerful. Do the same for diplomacy cards. Give each player a map, their own starting letter, and the party will get one status sheet that will track their statuses, and on the back it has a way to save their progress for future sessions. At this point, the player boards are set up with each player having a map and a starting letter, combat deck, player board, and diplomacy deck. Now we'll take the starting location card, 101, place it in the middle of the table. Grab the men here and set the tracker dial displayed to a number depending on the number of players. So for a 1-player game, set it to 8. For 2 players, set it to 7. 3 players, set it to 6. And finally, for 4 players, set it to 5. We'll talk about the importance of the men here later. Place this on the card. Notice this card has numbers with an arrow on each side. Obtain those cards and connect them. Players will place their figurines on card 101 on the same spot as the men here. At this point, as the owner, take all the encounter cards, separate them in their 4 respective colors. In each individual deck, there are different levels of cards denoted in the top left with red pips. Set these aside. These will be used throughout the course of the game. Next, take out the item cards and secret cards. Shuffle the item cards, and for the secret cards, it's recommended to organize them numerically. Put these aside somewhere accessible. Give 2 help cards per player. These are double-sided. There is also a combat and diplomacy overview card. This can be set aside or given to the players. Take the starting Chapter 1 card and read the back, which will tell you to take the Chapter 1 cards, which will form the event deck. Organize them by their part number. On the other side of the starting Chapter 1 card, it'll tell you which encounter cards will make up each encounter deck, which is based on the number of players in the game. Shuffle those cards together. These will form each deck. Repeat for all encounter decks separately. It's recommended for your first game to add your first encounter cards to the top of each deck. Set aside the You Are Going Insane cards and the You Are Dying cards. If you're playing co-op, use the appropriate card. Take the random event cards, shuffle them together, and set them aside. They will be added to the event deck at certain parts of the game. Now that setup is done, we'll discuss understanding the player board. During the game, you will be using energy to conduct actions. When paying the cost of energy, move the cube down appropriately. This is your health. It will go down whenever you take damage, which is typically in combat. This is terror. It will go up whenever you take terror damage. During the game, as you take damage, your health bar will limit your other two stats. Your max energy is capped by the top of the health bar. On the other hand, your terror can go past the bar. If it does, you are considered panicked, which provides a debuff. If your health ever reaches the red area, your character is considered dying, and you must take the appropriate You Are Dying card. The card will tell you how to resolve them. If your terror ever reaches the red area on the track, you are considered going insane, and you take the appropriate You Are Going Insane card. It will tell you how to resolve it on the back. This is the food resource. You may eat food every day. If you don't eat, you won't heal, and you'll reduce your energy to 0. This is your wealth. You use it to buy things. This is your reputation. This is an indication of how people view you. Not having enough at certain parts of the game will affect the story. This is your experience, which you will use to level up your character at the end of each day. This is your magic, which you will use primarily during combat, but has other uses. The red cubes denote 1 unit, while the purple cube is 5 units. Now we'll discuss the actions a player can take on their turn, starting with Explore, which will explore the current tile you're on. You do this by flipping the card over that your figurine is on. It'll give you a story excerpt and give you some choices depending on your status. Otherwise, it will tell you to go to your book. If you do not want to flip over the tile, all the information is found in the book. Looking at locations, there will be one of the 3 following symbols. This icon indicates if you end your day on this tile, you will have a dream which you'll refer to in your exploration book. These will help you determine how to complete your quest. This denotes that the card is in a settlement. Green indicates a settlement is friendly, while a red one will indicate it is hostile. This icon means there is a menhir at this location. You can conduct an action with an energy cost of 0 to inspect the menhir on the cost of activating it. The cost to activate is on the back and bottom of the card. It'll typically require all players to conduct the action to activate. As another action, you can travel, which costs 1 energy for each card. The location must be connected to each other, denoted by the arrow symbol on the side of the card. Some locations have a lightning symbol on it, which means you must resolve that encounter immediately when entering it. If you enter a location that is in range of a menhir, reveal the appropriate locations that are adjacent to it. The range of a menhir is exactly 1 tile adjacent in each direction to the menhir. In this situation, nothing is revealed to the right because it is out of range of the menhir, and there is no number on the right side of the card. Here is another example of the location above the menhir being revealed when traveling north of your current position. Don't forget to trigger any encounters from the lightning bolt symbol on the card. As you can see from this example, there is no arrow to the right of the card, meaning you must take the long way around by following the connections. The next action you can do is called the location action, where you pay the energy cost according to the tile you're on and do what it says. In this case, we gain 2 food. We can replace the 5 food cubes with 1 purple cube. Each character has a character action that you can perform. Pay the appropriate energy cost to perform the action. In this case, Beor is able to draw 3 item cards and pick 1 to keep. Once all characters have completed as many actions as they choose to, they can choose to all rest. By consuming 1 food to restore 1 health and lose 1 terror, and restore your energy depending on where your energy is at. You can choose to pay 2 experience cubes to draw 3 cards from a shuffled combat or diplomacy deck. Choose 1 to keep and add to your current deck. Remember, at this point, if your character is on a tile with a dream symbol, open the book to the appropriate tile page and have the chronicler player read the dream to them. If they are going insane, read the nightmare instead, which is below. Each stat comes as a pair of opposites. Aggression and empathy is 1 pair, for example. To determine how much experience it will cost to add a cube to that row, count up the number of cubes in the row and the number of the cube that you're adding. Multiply that by 2, and that is how much experience is required. So in this first row, there are 2 cubes, and to add a cube of empathy, it will be the 3rd cube. So multiply that by 2, which is 6. So it'll cost 6 experience cubes to add a cube to empathy. In the bottom row, to add a cube, it will be the 2nd cube. So 2 times 2, so it would cost 4 experience to add a cube to either attribute. The back of the glossary card will do the math for you as well. Instead of adding a cube, if the specific stat has 2 cubes, you can pay the cost to add an attribute card, which is a double-sided card. It will count as an extra stat. So now we have 3 aggression. So now we've talked about the basic actions, how a turn works, and essentially the middle and end parts of the turn structure. Knowing this, we'll discuss the beginning of turn steps before players take action. At the start of the day, you remove any menhirs that are expired, meaning they do not have a time dial on them anymore. So the middle one has no time dial, so it was removed, while the one on the top right has a time dial and stays. When you remove a menhir, any locations outside the active range of another menhir, which is directly adjacent to it, are removed. If your character is in such a space, it will take 2 health and 2 terror damage and go to the nearest connected space. If there is a tie, it goes to the lowest numbered space. The next step is to tick down all the time dials and menhir dials by 1. If the last menhir on the map goes out, do not remove any locations. The character can still explore these areas, but lose 2 health and gain 2 terror at each beginning of the day until they die or relight the menhir. The next step is to draw the next event from the event deck. Read it and follow the instructions. Certain event cards have a lock symbol. Keep those face up and do not discard them. That will be something you need to do to progress the story. Sometimes you will draw a monster which is called a guardian, denoted by the G on the top left of the card, and the trait will be guardian below. These monsters, if you do not defeat them, their figurine will stay on the map and it will roam the map. Events can spawn guardians as well. After the draw event card step, we enter the guardian movement phase, where we roll a die for each guardian on the map, which will denote which direction the guardian will move. You will roll a die for each guardian separately. If you roll a direction that the guardian cannot go to, it will go to the highest numbered connected location. If the movement causes the guardian to encounter another player, combat initiates. Alternatively, if you walk into a location with a guardian, combat initiates as well. If you roll an X, it causes the monster to be discarded. If you roll a blank die, it means the monster stays where it is, and if you're on that spot as well, it will initiate combat. But if you share a location with a monster and it moves away, it doesn't cause combat. There is no limit to the number of items that your character can carry. However, some items have keywords on them, and after the Move Guardian phase, you will need to choose which items to equip. Flip upside down any items you do not want to use that day. Some cards have a C on them. These are craftable items. Some character special abilities allow you to obtain craftable items, and some rewards gives you them as well. If you're on the same spot as another player, you may trade items with them with no limits. At any time, 2 or more characters can take an action together, in which they form a party. As a party, actions must be paid individually by each member of the party. For example, if 2 party members travel one spot, they will need to pay 1 energy per member. Costs can be paid equally, or party members can pay the entire cost for others. The only exception is character abilities, where the owner must pay at least 1 energy. When conducting the Explore action, as a party, all members must conduct the same action together. For example, if in an Explore action it says there is a forked road, Bayor cannot take the left road while Ali takes the right. Both characters must agree what direction to take together. They can, as a party, come back at a later time and conduct an Explore action again and make a separate choice, but it cannot be done simultaneously as a party. So that concludes part 1 of our Tainted Grail setup and rules video. Check back soon for our in-depth video that will teach you combat and diplomacy. Don't forget, as an alternative, you can check my blog, nightknowledge.com, that will have a script that you can read to teach your friends. Big thanks to my friend Mike for providing the time, expertise, and game itself to make this video. It was a pleasure working with him, and we hope to collaborate again in the future to provide more rules videos and gameplay videos. Thanks for watching today, and we'll see you next time.